evening and welcome to the Planning Commission meeting of June 10th, 2024. I now call the meeting to order, and if we'd please stand, we'll all say the Pledge of Allegiance together. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you, everyone. Anna, voice roll call, please.
Chair Arith.
Present.
Vice Chair Toller.
Here.
Commissioner Rojas.
Present.
Commissioner Zick.
Here.
Commissioner Andrade is absent. Commissioner Klepak. Present. Commissioner Martinez.
Present.
All right, thank you. I see no announcements or presentations this evening, which brings us to public comments for matters that are not listed on tonight's agenda. Is there anyone in chambers who wishes to speak to public comment? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to telephone or Zoom. Do we have anyone?
No, we do not, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you very much. We'll now close public comments and turn to Planning Commissioner comments and suggestions at this time, starting with Commissioner Rojas.
My only comment that I have is I'd like to congratulate all the seniors that have graduated from Newport Mesa Unified School District's high school. I'd also like to really thank the Costa Mesa PD for what they do at Mesa's high school. I was there watching my son's class graduate, but how they escort the students walking down the street right there off of Arlington, and they have the mounted police giving them congratulations. It really motivates the kids, and I think that's very special. I've never seen that anywhere, and I think that that's great. So I just wanted to make sure that if there's anybody in the community, members of the police department, that's very appreciated. And that's it. That's what I got.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Rojas. Commissioner Zick?
I've got nothing to add.
Okay, all right, thank you. Commissioner Martinez?
Yes, thank you. First, I'd like to wish everyone a happy Pride Month. This month is June, so that means it's Pride Month, and we are flying the flag outside, and I'm very happy about that. Second, there is a special city council meeting tomorrow at 5 p.m., so if you can attend, please do. They're talking about some goals, like a nice target for us as Planning Commission to view the Fairview Developmental Center it seems like the council agenda says next month. So I'm very excited about that, and hopefully members of the public can attend. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Martinez. Commissioner Klepak?
Nothing for me.
All right, thank you. Vice Chair Toller?
No comment.
All right, let's see. I have one thing tonight. So I had the privilege of going back to visit Priceless Pets this last week because I wanted to donate some stuff. And I found out from one of the managers that it is Pet Adoption Month. And if I remember correctly, I think they have a lot of kittens right now, cats that need homes. So if you're looking to adopt or you're looking to foster or get involved, they're always looking for volunteers. And it seems like such a wonderful organization. It's where I got my dog, Willie Nelson. And yeah, I'm even thinking of maybe a second dog here pretty soon. So anyway, that's about it for me. That brings us to the consent calendar. We have one consent calendar item this evening. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be acted upon in one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless members of the Planning Commission staff or the public request specific items to be discussed and or removed from the consent calendar for discussion. Items removed from the consent calendar will be discussed and voted upon immediately following Planning Commission action on the remainder of the consent calendar. And if you would, Anna, please read the title of our one consent calendar item.
Consent calendar item number 1, minutes, May 28th, 2024, unofficial meeting minutes.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any comments on the minutes? All right, seeing none. I do have one comment, but maybe I'll hold off until we make a motion. I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve with the following language. And let me turn to it real quick. CC1, page 3, last paragraph of the chair opened the public hearing and before the chair opened public comments. I think it's worth noting that upon being asked if the applicant were to hypothetically deviate from the the city's recommended parking standards. The applicant said no and wanted to stick to staff recommendations. So that's the only proposed modification I have to the minutes. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Zick. I have nothing further to add. Anything to add, Commissioner Zick? All right. Anyone else? All right. If we can call the question.
That motion carries 6-0.
All right. Thank you. I see we have one public hearing tonight. And Anna, if you'd please read the title for public hearing item number 1.
Public hearing item number 1, planning application PCUP-24-0001 for a conditional use permit for a new escape room use and a minor conditional use permit to deviate from parking requirements at 2706 Harbor Boulevard, Suites 200 and 202 through 205. Please note we have not received public comments on this item. This is a call for any ex parte communications.
All right. Thank you, Anna. Starting to my left, Commissioner Martinez.
No.
Commissioner Klupak.
No.
Commissioner Rojas.
I have none.
Commissioner Zick. Vice Chair. No. And I don't either. So we can turn it over to Mr. Raimondo to present the item. Mr. Raimondo.
Thank you, Chairman, and good evening, Commissioners. My name is Jeffrey Raimondo, Assistant Planner with the Economic and Development Services Department, and the item before you tonight is an application for a new escape room business called Unlocked Escape Room. The proposal will require a conditional use permit, as an escape room is not a listed use in the city's land use matrix. Also, a minor conditional use permit is involved to deviate from parking requirements. The city's municipal code currently does not have an established parking rate for escape rooms. However, for uses without an established parking rate per code, the parking is based on a requirement with the most comparable use. And it was determined by staff that the most comparable use in terms of parking would be similar to a game arcade, which only has a parking requirement of 10 spaces per 1,000 square feet. Now, since the existing development contains a mixture of uses, staff has conducted a shared parking analysis to justify the parking deviation. And the subject property is 2706 Harbor Boulevard, Suites 200 and 202 through 205. The subject site, which you can see boxed in blue, is located northeast from the intersection of Harbor Boulevard and Mesa Verde Drive East, and is zoned C1, which is the local business district. Within the vicinity of the site are existing apartment complexes to the east and west, as you see starred left and right there. Also across Harbor Boulevard to the west is the shops at Mesa Verde. And along Harbor Boulevard north of the site are existing retail and other commercial uses in which the parking and existing driveways are shared among the properties. And this we'll view and discuss further on a later slide. In a closer look at the site contains 2 existing multi-tenant 2-story buildings, which are connected with a breezeway. The proposed escape room will occupy a portion of the building to the south, which a site photo of the building can be seen on the image to the right. The building contains 9 suites, with 3 suites on the bottom. One of the suites is occupied by Ding Tea, and 2 suites are currently occupied by Sassy Nail Bar, and the remaining 6 suites are located on the 2nd floor. And here are the site and floor plans of the proposal. The floor plan on the right reflects the layout of the 2nd floor of the building. The proposed escape room will occupy 5 out of the 6 suites on the 2nd floor. The remaining suite that is unaffected is Suite 201, which is currently utilized as an insurance office. The escape room will occupy Suites 200 and 202 through 205, which Suite 200 will be used as a lobby or waiting area. Suite 202 will be used as a control room, and then the remaining 3 suites will be utilized as separate escape rooms. The subject suites cumulatively total 4,023 square feet in floor area and were previously occupied by office uses. Now, for clarification on what is an escape room, it is an experiential entertainment use where groups of guests are placed within either a single room or a series of rooms containing puzzles, riddles, or clues that require solving in order to escape from the room within a certain time frame. The images you see on the left are a couple examples of what escape rooms may look like in general. As you can see, the rooms may vary and may be designed with a certain theme. Now, the proposed hours of operations for the escape room are from Monday through Friday, 6:30 to 10 p.m., and Saturday and Sunday, 11 a.m. to 11:45 p.m. The applicant proposes that the escape rooms are appointment only and consist of 60-minute sessions. There will be 3 escape rooms available. However, the applicant has proposed a staggered schedule in which only 2 out of the 3 rooms would operate simultaneously at any given time during their hours of operation. The operation is set up in which one room would allow groups of up to 8 participants, and the other 2 rooms would allow groups of up to 6 participants max. As noted earlier, the subject property shares the parking and existing driveways with multiple properties, which derives from an existing parking agreement that has been in place since 1968. The properties in which the parking is shared are outlined in red, with the subject property delineated and outlined with yellow dashes. The entire collective site provides 247 shared parking spaces in total. Now, due to the operations of the escape room, the parking demand for the use is 17 spaces, which was based on the escape room operating on a staggered schedule, which only a maximum of 17 occupants, a combination of both customers and employees, would be in attendance at any given time for the business. Now, staff has conducted a shared parking analysis of the site and determined that there was a parking surplus during the escape room's business hours. Now, with that said, staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt the resolution to find that the project is categorically exempt from CEQA and to approve conditional use permit 24-0001, subject to conditions of approval. Now, this concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you have, and the applicant's business partner, Long John Nguyen, is also in attendance to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Raimondo. Colleagues, do you have any questions, starting with Commissioner Zick?
Thank you, Mr. Raimondo, for your presentation. The first question I have is with regard to the hours of operation. If the applicant wanted to change those in the future, what would be the process to do that?
We would return to the Planning Commission with that request. There's a specific condition of approval in the resolution that states what the hours must be. So any change to that would be considered a major change, and we'd come back here.
And then my second question, really more out of curiosity, in the, let's see, is this an attachment? In our package, it follows the conditions of approval, and it's an analysis of the adjacent businesses and business hours. And I think the purpose of this is to help understand the compatibility of the parking. I don't see Stizzy in this list of businesses. Is there a reason for that?
I believe that list was provided by the applicant, was it not?
That's correct. That was provided by the applicant.
So, yeah, and Stizzy is certainly an operating facility. It's relatively new, but it operates. And as I recall, it operates from 9 to 10 at night, 9 in the morning till 10 at night.
All right. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Zick. Anyone else? Commissioner Martinez.
Yeah. So first, I'll start off with previous examples. What we've had previous escape rooms pass through here. So what zones were the previous escape rooms in?
Yeah, so we have 3 previous escape rooms. There was one located at 1525 Mesa Verde Drive East, Suite 212, the Legacy Escape Room. That one was zoned C1, which is our local business district. There was also escape room located at 1111 Baker Street, Building A. That was zoned MG, which is a general industrial. And then there's also one at 2900 Bristol Street, Suite E208. That was zoned C2, which is our general business district.
Right. So a previous escape room that has been approved is in the same zone as this one, C1, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
All right. A previous escape room that was approved in 2016 was approved by zoning administrator decision. Why have subsequent escape rooms come to the planning commission?
Commissioner Martinez, having read through that 2016 staff report, there was a line in there that acknowledged that at the time it was processed, it was kind of a brand new use, something that was unusual. And they identified it at that time for processing purposes as an entertainment venue. I think as we become more familiar with what the nature and characteristics of these are, our analysis and process for that has been refined over the years, such that we've been more consistent with the more recent applications.
Okay. Next, let's look at parking. So the reason that we have to have a minor conditional use permit is because it doesn't have enough parking spaces. Do I have that right? What would the use that it's classified under be for parking?
Yeah, the most comparable use we would categorize the escape room would be like a game arcade. And base our code, it's 10 spaces per 1,000 square feet.
Okay. So in total, they would have 44 if they kept that game arcade use.
That is correct.
Okay. Could you go to slide number 9? There we go. So the properties in this red box have a shared parking agreement, right? Do any of the other sites have the condition that that we're proposing for this one, where if there are parking shortages or other parking related problems, then they'll come back to the director for some kind of operation or change in their use?
I might be able to help you with that, Commissioner Martinez. That is a standard condition that we include with all, generally all discretionary entitlements. And in direct answer to your question, certainly Stizzy has it in their CUP. And then the gym that was approved by zoning administrator, I can't remember what it's called, but it recently opened. It had that condition in there as well. And then the previous project that wasn't approved from the Earth cannabis site, it also included that condition. But again, that project was appealed, so it was never approved. But yeah,
So the follow-up to that would be, if a parking problem does arise, what actions would we take? Would we take them against this business? Would it be for Stizzy? Would it be against that gym? Like, would it be some combination? How do we resolve that issue?
yeah, it really depends. This is an interesting situation. It's not normal, but we would look at what the problem that is resulting, what it's resulting from. So, for example, if it happened to occur based on the nail salon, which did not have any conditions like that, we probably could not do anything about that. But if it was related to, say, this use that's being proposed, we could request a modification in hours, change in the amount of groups that they're seeing, different variations of modifications. We could ask for a parking analysis to be prepared, a host of things that we could do to try to eliminate issues for parking. But Yeah, that would be the way that we would occur. But in answer to your question, we couldn't do it for all the uses on there.
Okay. Those are my questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Martinez. And on the heels of your question, I'll just point out condition of approval number 7 on page 6 of Exhibit B. Any change in the operational characteristics of the use shall be subject to planning division review and may require an amendment to the conditional use permit subject to the final review authority determined by the Economic and Development Services Director. So to the way I understand it, our director would have the discretion to make those changes unless we stipulated otherwise. Anyone else? All right, I do have a few questions. So also following Commissioner Martinez's earlier question about zoning administrator approval in the past versus why we're seeing it now, I'll turn your attention to the top of page 5 in the agenda, which says a reduction in parking may be approved by minor conditional use permit when it can be demonstrated that less parking is needed due to hours of operation or other unusual features of the users involved, and then it goes on. And just for public knowledge, if I can ask, why is Planning Commission seeing this versus this being just a simple zoning administrator approval?
Yeah, so for this application, when there's multiple applications applied, so there's a conditional use permit as well to establish the use, and then also the minor conditional use permit for the parking deviation. When there's multiple applications, the higher review authority would be the final decision body.
Gotcha. Thank you. We turn to, let's see, page 6 of the conditions of approval, Exhibit B. Number 5 says the start of each game shall be staggered so that no more than 2 games start at the same time. There shall be a minimum 30-minute gap between each game to allow adequate time for one group to depart before the arrival of the next group. And I guess my question is, to the best of my understanding, a 30-minute gap would not technically be needed. Is there any issue with staff if we made that 15 minutes? 15-minute staggered time starts just so that there's the ability to make more economic development occur.
Yeah, just for the commission's awareness, the 30 minutes in the condition of approval that staff is recommending is consistent with the applicant's paperwork to us. But to your point, Chair Arith, we don't have any opposition if the commission wanted to provide for a 15-minute break between or staggering. That would work from us. It would also provide the applicant with a little more discretion if they wanted to do it in 15-minute increments or 30-minute increments. As you may be aware, after a game has concluded, they'll have to go into the room, clean it up, kind of reset it for the next group that comes through. So there may need to be a 30-minute gap or staggering just as a practical matter because of their business operations, but not because of a city requirement or a city need.
Okay, I think we can probably ask the applicant that question later. Thank you for that explanation. If we turn to attachment 2, page, I guess it says 7 on one part, but 6 on another. It says summary of the total number of businesses and estimated parking. On the heels of what Commissioner Zick was saying earlier about Stizzy, did staff take any position on any foreseeable special events that Stizzy might be throwing and how that will factor into parking here at this proposed business? Or should I say, should Stizzy apply for a special events permit and they had a kickoff, kind of like what they did when they had their grand opening? Would there be any further consideration for traffic in or around that site? Because to me, when I was there, it seemed like the whole parking lot was packed.
There would be a consideration for the parking impacts, but only within the context of that special event permit that's applied for, not as part of a overall general day-to-day business operations like we utilized in this analysis.
Okay. And just for public knowledge, special event permits go through zoning administrator, is that correct? Is that staff or
level.
zoning?
Yeah, it would be staff level.
Okay, all right. Thank you. And if we turn to attachment number 6, floor plan, did have a question about the shared bathrooms, as you'll see on page 1. I do know that the proposed hours of operation for the escape room exceed those of the neighboring businesses. So I just wanted to ask about security and if the applicant were in some way, shape, or form going to be checking the bathrooms at the end of the night. Are the doors locked to the adjacent building? Are there any cameras in that hallway? Just some additional questions in terms of security at that time.
Yeah, so according to the applicant, the bathrooms are locked. If there any customers that needs to use the restrooms, they do have a key to unlock the bathroom. So if someone's interested, they could either escort them or have the customer utilize the key to use the restrooms.
Okay. And it didn't even occur to me, and just until a few minutes ago, gosh, what was it? Somewhere between 8 months and a year ago, we approved a business, an upstairs business in that same building or the adjacent building for cannabis, retail cannabis delivery. I couldn't remember if it's in that same building or at the adjacent building. And if so, were there any further considerations in regards to the transportation hours that we had set up for conditions of approval with said business?
Yeah, I believe it was in the adjacent building for
Okay.
the delivery use, and
Okay.
it was real low impact from the perspective of demand. But yeah, I remember that as well.
All right, thank you, Director Dropkin. All right, I think that's all for me, unless anyone else? No? No? Okay, we'll move things along. Thank you, Mr. Raimondo, and everyone else. I will now open the public hearing and ask the applicant or the applicant's representative to come to either podium. And if you could do 3 things for me, sir. If you could tell us your name, let us know if you've read the staff report and the conditions of approval, and lastly, if you agree to them.
Hi, of course. Hello, my name is Long John Nguyen, the representative for this business. I have read the entire report and the conditions, and I do agree to them.
All right, thank you, sir. The floor is yours, Mr. Nguyen.
All right, wonderful. I didn't know I was supposed to have something prepared.
You don't have to. You can just talk if you want.
All right. Yeah, Unlocked Escape Room has been in business in Costa Mesa since 2020. We're the second one listed at 1111 Baker Street. We've been happy to be there and still be in business after COVID. We're taking this opportunity to hopefully, with your approval, operate in a larger space and continue to operate for a decade plus if the city will have us. With all the approvals and conditions needed, we're happy to comply with those. I'd like to respond to 2 of the questions that I believe the chair asked around the 30-minute timing and around the restrooms. So for the timing between games, 30 minutes is what we've operationalized over the years. We have tried to go faster, but seen quality suffer, so we're not asking for anything less. If we're able to provide some efficiencies in the future, we may be able to speed that up. If the council here is able to grant us 15-minute time limits in between, we may be able to grow into that. At the moment, we'll keep our current operations when we move into the new place. Secondly, the restrooms, the property manager has informed us we are, in fact, the last suite to be open, so we are responsible for locking the gate, and we plan to place cameras into those stairwells as well for our own staff's safety as well as just for the ease of operation. Besides that, everything else, I don't have any other comments. Thank you for your consideration.
All right, thank you, sir. If you could just stay up here for 1 minute. Colleagues, do you have any questions of the applicant? All right. You're welcome to take a seat, Mr. Nguyen. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Seeing no one in chambers to speak for public comment. If there's anyone on Zoom or telephone, you're welcome to use the raised hand feature or press *9 to unmute yourself. Anna, do we have anyone?
No, we do not, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Go ahead and close public comment portion of the public hearing. Colleagues, do you have any questions for the applicant for a second time around? All right, seeing none. Mr. Nguyen, do you have any closing comments? You're welcome to or not. It's up to you. Okay. Colleagues, do you have any further questions for staff on this item? All right, seeing none, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing and entertain a motion. Motion made by Martinez. What is your motion?
To adopt a resolution to find that the project is categorically exempt from the provisions of the California Environmental Quality Act per CEQA Guidelines Section 15301, existing facilities, and approve planning application PCUP 240001 based on findings of fact and subject to conditions of approval.
All right, thank you. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Klupak. Commissioner Martinez, do you wish to speak to your motion?
Yes. I don't know if this should have come before us, is basically the gist of my comments. I get that this use is one that is not in the land use matrix, but we have previously approved escape rooms. We've previously approved an escape room within the same zone, and we've previously approved this same operator, albeit in a different zone. So I would be interested in having a policy where if we have a use that isn't in the land use matrix, it goes, we check, we see, has it been approved in the same zone previously? And then from there, we can just process it through maybe an MCUP or something like that. That way we don't have to see this again and again. Secondly, the parking requirements, I think, are still honestly quite a lot. If we do the math at 17 parking spaces, 17 parking spaces times a width of 9 feet, which is standard parking design guidelines, times a length of 18 feet plus 12 and a half feet for a drive aisle, that's 30 and a half feet. So the 17 times the 9 times the 30.5, that's going to be 4,666 and a half square feet of parking. This business is 4,408 square feet, which means that we're requiring 5% more parking than business at this location. That doesn't seem right to me, but we're going to do this anyways until we take a look at our commercial parking requirements. So as we are, I support this. I'm going to approve this, but hopefully we can take a look at those two things so that we don't have something like this again, because right now we're looking at a 40-minute meeting, which is pretty good. But, hopefully we can spend our time on some bigger things like the Fairview Developmental Center, which I pitched at the beginning of the meeting during my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Klupak. All right, anyone else? Commissioner Zick.
Well, I'll be supporting the motion. I think the comments about zoning administrator approval are appropriate. A staff report like the one we're looking at would still be put together by staff, so we don't save any time there. Our time took 20 minutes. Clearly, we don't have a packed agenda. We've got the time to do this. What I appreciate is the discretion that the zoning administrator has to decide things or to push them up to Planning Commission. And in this case, because there's a CUP as well as an MCUP, it seems appropriate that the Planning Commission review this. I don't feel it's a waste of our time. I think, if anything, it's a public service. In case the public wanted to weigh in, this is an easier public forum for them to do that. And then regarding parking, I understand those comments. I understand the concern. I understand that whole narrative. The MCUP is what is being given here in recognition of the fact that there is sufficient parking given the shared nature of this shopping center. I'll approve the motion.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Zick. Anyone else? Vice Chair, Commissioner Rojas? All right, yeah, it's to me a pretty easy application to approve. I understand why it came to us, and like Commissioner Zick, it doesn't take up too much of our time one way or the other, but I do appreciate zoning administrator approval and the discretion that the director has to kick it to us when need be. I will say that for any discussion about commercial parking and reorganizing our code, that's a whole separate conversation that we're obviously not going to put on you as an applicant in this zone. But I think it's a really cool use. I look forward to seeing it when it opens up. I can't think of an escape room other than maybe going to my in-laws' house for the holidays. Yeah, that's about as close as I get. So with that said, if anyone else, unless anyone else has any further comments, we'll go ahead and call the question.
That motion carries 6-0.
All right, thank you. That decision is final unless appealed to the City Council within 7 days. Good luck, Mr. Nguyen. That brings us to old business, new business. I see neither, so we'll move on to departmental reports, starting with Mr. Yang, Public Services.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Public Works doesn't have any comments other than to wish everyone a happy Juneteenth next Wednesday. Thank you. Defer it back to the chair.
All right, thank you, sir. Director Drapkin, Development Services.
Nothing tonight, Chair. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And City Attorney's report, Mr. Preziosi.
No report this evening.
All right, thank you. That brings us to the end of the meeting. We will now adjourn. Thanks for joining us.